Looking at all of the dresses I have, I chose the one that allows me to be who I want to be. The pure white silk radiating a bluish glow emphasized her fair skin. The delicate silver embroidery and the diamonds studded on her dress glittering like stardust complemented her beauty. A pair of shoes and a jewelry set of earrings and necklace exclusively made for that specific dress completed the look of Letitia, the first princess of the kingdom of Salvel. She walked in long strides within the castle one afternoon as if her high-heeled shoes were nothing and her smooth, shiny golden hair bouncing with her every step. Letty was exceptionally beautiful today, her steel blue eyes, reminiscent of the winter skies, were focused towards a certain goal. Is there anything wrong, Your Highness? The retainer was surprised with Letty's dress that was fit for a ball and asked the approaching princess. But Letty ignored both the retainer's question and the penetrating looks directed at her. She simply continued on walking straight towards her target with 3 guards trailing behind her for protection. Where is Duke Barchet? Letty asked a random knight as she reached her place of destination, the camp of the Royal Chivalric Order. Letty smiled sweetly and amusedly watched the knight blush. Duke Senpai is over there. I see. Thank you. Letty said her thanks as she walked towards the direction the knight pointed out. Her steps were graceful and silent but quick in succession. I have found you. As soon as Letitia saw the tall, black-haired lad with blue eyes, she took a deep breath and called out in a clear, resounding voice. Duke Barchet. The princess voice echoed up to the clear skies, startling the knights in the camp and drawing eyes towards her. The camp was inside the castle, but since this was a place dedicated for the Knights of the Order, a lady's voice is rarely heard in the vicinity and for the voice to be of a princess was quite a singular happening. However, despite the surprise, they were expected to be on guard in case something untoward happened since they were knights. Oh, Your Highness, said a surprised duke. He was the princess target, a knight in the Royal Chivalric Order. Princess Letitia walked towards him with her head held up high. Duke Barchet, the oldest son of Baron Barchet's family and a knight of 6th rank of the Royal Chivalric Order. He is a close friend of 1st Prince Friedhelm, but his family's allegiance is with 2nd Prince Guido. He truly is my only choice. The beautiful princess' stare was sharp and piercing. Even Duke could not help but admire her fine eyes that held strength enough to make him want to step back. But he could not let the princess intimidate him. He was a knight highly respected within the order and even said to be the best among them. He stood his ground and glared back at her with the same intensity. I order you to be my knight. You shall take the first seat in my Knights of the Round. Now, bow down to me. The unexpected words from the princess ended the glaring contest. They were so surprising that Duke was dumbfounded for a moment. If I heard Your Highness correctly, you were ordering me to be your knight, is that correct? Duke asked this question not only because the invitation, or rather, order surprised him, it was more because the image he had of Princess Letitia was different. He assumed from the stories he heard that the princess was a sweet and gentle young lady, who feels the pain brought by the strife between her 2 older brothers. But the person in front of him was not even a bit similar to what he had imagined. Yes, you heard me correctly. I was even thinking that once you take your seat as the first knight of the round, I would bestow upon you the title to give truth to your name. Duke's name, same as the title, had been the bane of his existence. Ever since he was young, he had been teased because of this since his family's rank is only that of a baron, the lowest rank in the nobility. Deep inside his heart he cursed, this bastard, no, this bitch, but his reply did not show any trace of this emotion. I'm sorry, Your Highness, but I have to decline your offer. Is that so? I think I am entitled to know the reason, am I not? The princess unexpectedly gave up easily, but her condescending attitude, acting all high and important, irritated Duke more. Well, she truly was high and important, but that does not mean he cannot be annoyed by it. It means that even I have the right to choose who shall be my master. Which implies that you do not consider me qualified, correct? Yes. And I'd rather not be known as the leftover princess's lover. Letty's eyes flared up the moment she heard leftover princess. Letitia L. Kreutzer was the 3rd child of the king and the 1st princess. Her mother descended from a prince's family, so she was originally in a position closest to the throne compared to the other royal children. However, when her mother died when she was still 7 years old, she left Katlia Castle together with her younger brother, Prince Leonhardt, because it was filled with her mother's memories. Since then, they lived peacefully in the royal villa and took a step back from the battle for the throne. The 1st and 2nd princes, Letty's excellent half-older brothers, were already in the lead of the race for the throne while the 1st princess, living peacefully with her younger brother, was left behind. However, because the 2 princes were so accomplished, if either one of them became the next king, a civil war was deemed inevitable. In order to prevent this, their father, the king, devised a plan. Thus, on the 17th birthday of the 1st princess, he announced that his heir would neither be Prince Friedhelm nor Prince Guido, but Princess Letitia. This is how the name Leftover Princess came to be. It was a title given to the princess who received the leftover crown from her 2 exceptionally brilliant brothers. I understand your point. Anyway, I only came here to declare my intentions, so I shall leave now for today. Today? Yes, today. I have no intentions on giving up on you, so you should better use this time to finish any preparations you need. With that, Letty ceremoniously turned around and walked away with her long, soundless, elegant strides without even glancing back. What's with that attitude? Thought Duke as he watched the princess walk away. He was irritated because it seemed like the princess saw him as someone who would easily say yes if he was invited to take the first seat in the Knights of the Round. Duke-senpai, that lady a while ago. Huh? Ah, that was your future queen. Ordering me out of the blue to bow down to her. Who does she think she is? The future queen? But isn't she so beautiful? It was my first time seeing a lady with that beauty. Duke, sighing on the side, thought that Astrid, his blushing and excited junior, was somewhat amazing with his pure reaction. You heard us, right? Then, you should know that even though she looks like a beautiful princess, she's also a high-handed, domineering woman who does not even have an ounce of sweetness in her. But I still think she is great. Imagine a lady ordering senpai to bow down. I wonder why I feel stupid when I talk with you. Soon, Duke's comrades in the order started gathering around him, and he was sure that they would bombard him with questions on what in the world was that conversation about. While Duke was being harassed by his fellow knights, the princess, whose offer was straightly refused, went back to her room and released all of her anger by attacking her innocent pillow. What's with that man? He really is that idiot Friedhelm's best friend. One of these days, I'll make him cry because of treason. Letty lifted the pillow high up above her head and threw it hard to her bed, but the bed was so soft, the pillow landed on it without a thud. If Princess Letitia was alone, she would have thrown a fit and screamed, but her pride as a princess, no, her pride as the next queen cannot forgive herself if it was known that she threw a tantrum because of her invitation was refused. She clenched her teeth and resisted the impulse to act unbecoming for her station. Leftover princess? Very well then. I shall make it the best compliment of the kingdom. Letty once again lifted the pillow and threw it back to the bed with all her might. Chapter 1. Knights of the Round. This was the Night King's space. On the floor was a carpet with the story of the gods embroidered on it, framed with golden ears of grain. Hanging on the ceiling was a wooden chandelier, and on the carpet was a beautiful patina table made of deep evergreen oak. Out of the same wood were chairs scattered around the room adorned with carvings on its boards, enough to be considered as unique art pieces. Creating the same pattern would be impossible. There were 3 people in this room today. One of them, a man with a golden mane resembling that of a lion, rested his feet on the priceless desk like it was nothing and faced Letty with a wide grin on his face. Your mood is fouler than usual, Queen Letitia. When are you in right now? You are annoying, aren't you, King Alexander? I am in right after I was proclaimed to be the next queen and was just refused by a stupid man. The man called King Alexander laughed out loud as if Letty's predicament was something pleasant, rubbing Letty's nerves the wrong way. The silver-haired man sitting on a distant chair inserted a bookmark into his book before closing it to join the conversation. There is no need to be impatient, Queen Letitia. I had the experience of bowing down 55 times to someone until he agreed to be my knight. I have heard of that story so many times already in my own time, and it has been passed down as your impressive anecdote, Administrative King Karlheinz. It is now considered as an idiom, 55 bows. So was it really 55 times? I see it was passed down quite accurately. It was a good thing I kept a diary then. If it were me, I would leave an order to burn all my diaries when I die, since I only rant in there. I might wish to die again even if I already did if I would be known as the ranting queen, snorted Letty. The one-handed man laughed listlessly at Letty's little speech. It will be fine since it is, after all, you, Queen Letitia. If it were me, I will probably be known as the traitor king or wrecked king. No, maybe there won't even be subjects left to give me such a title. You are dark as usual, King Oswald. When are you in your time? I'm on my 5th year of war. I escaped here even though I know I should not. One-handed King Oswald's sigh was heavy. Given the dark atmosphere, Letty declared that she would be going back when King Alexander said something to her. Queen Letitia, there is no need for you to follow what that stupidly serious Karlheinz said. Those who agree because you bowed down to them only want sincerity. Then what do you suggest I do? If it were me, I would have beaten them to a pulp and made them swear the knight's oath, but since you are a woman, the fastest way is to stage a dramatic act, like making him believe that it is destiny. Destiny? Men are weak against those things, you know? So just follow what your uncle says. How many greats shall I skip to trace you? Besides, the dynasty has changed already after your reign, so I am supposedly not a direct descendant from your line. Anyway, I think there is some merit in the advice given by the Lion King Alexander, who has never lost even one battle during his reign, so I will give it some thought. Letty left, saying her agreement with King Alexander and thinking about her next step. Letty woke up to the chirping birds and warm sunlight in a cool day. She felt a bit confused from the lack of the wooden chandelier hanging on the ceiling when she remembered that she had already gone back to reality. I probably go to the Night King's space a lot recently because I wanted to escape somewhere. Lion King Alexander was there right before a revolution happened, led by his friend and trusted prime minister. For Administrator King Karlheinz, it was after he was betrayed by his beloved wife, while one-handed King Oswald was in a dire situation at war. All of the kings in the Night King's space had one thing in common whenever they went there: they were at a loss on what they should do. So for the other kings, they surmised that they would be seeing Letty frequently during the time after she was announced to be the heir to the throne. "Come now, your highness, the next queen, Queen Letitia, we have to make our second bow today," said Letty to herself. Ever since the present king announced on Letitia's 17th birthday last month that she would be the next queen, her maids were strangely spirited for some reason. While her maids were busily working themselves, Letty was drinking her morning tea in pure sophistication. Letty thought that a husband need simply be a decoration beside her, and she would not be giving him any power over the kingdom's politics and government, but it was still an undeniable fact that selecting her husband was an important part of her job. "I shall work after this, so no one is allowed to disturb me until I say so. Bring to my room the portraits and documents Prince Friedhelm and Prince Guido brought over." The maids obediently followed Letty's orders and carried into her room the portraits of her husband candidates, burying a third of her spacious room. Letty was nauseated with the number of portraits, but she still locked her door and prepared to work. "Well then, let's start." Letty took off her beautiful dress, released her feet from her high heels, changed into a fresh new dress, and wore durable walking boots that she was fond of recently. She removed all of her accessories and simply tied her hair with a velour ribbon. Letty looked at herself in the mirror and declared her princess incognito outfit complete. Without any hesitation, Letty leaned forward outside her window and leapt to the nearby tree. This had been always her escape route ever since she was a child. The people who see her as the perfect epitome of a princess would find it hard to believe that she had been doing this for a long time. All right. Perfect score. Letty praised herself as she got out of the castle without anyone noticing her. She dusted off her skirt and arranged her dress as she walked. The Royal Chivalric Order should be coming around here for their patrols. Letty ordered her servants to investigate the schedule of Duke Barchet, who had the nerve of refusing her in front of everyone. Using the information her servants gathered, Letty decided to ambush Duke while he was on duty. "Hello there. Today is a good day, isn't it? Oh, Lady CIA, long time no see. Are you out on a date today?" Letty talked familiarly with a lady that passed by. She had escaped the castle many times to go and walk around the town near the castle, pretending to be a daughter of a poor baron. Unlike her brothers Friedhelm and Guido, the people only knew Princess Letitia by her name and the description that she was as beautiful as the late first queen consort, so she could easily go out and wander around town. "There is someone I would like to be my knight, but he refused me, so I wanted to ambush him and have him say yes to me." My, so there is someone who would refuse a beautiful young lady like you. I am sure he has high ambitions and wants to be knight of a princess from a high-ranking family." It was normal for a powerful, high-ranking family to have several knights. But for a daughter of a low-ranked family, having a knight was equal to having a lover. This was where Duke's refusal, "I do not want to be known as the leftover princess lover," came from. While chatting idly with the lady, Letty scanned the street for a certain someone. Then a tall man, noticeably a head or two higher among the crowd, wearing a sour expression on his face, caught her eye. "There you are." Letty took a step forward, raised her arm and called out to him. "Duke. I was waiting for you." For a moment, Duke wondered who that woman waving at him was when recognition hit him. He immediately scanned the area to search for Letty's guards. Letty decided that Duke's skills as a knight was tolerable when she saw his instant alertness upon recognizing her. "See that tall person? He is the one I wanted to be my knight." Letty pointed out Duke, now pushing his way through the crowd towards her. Before Duke could even reprimand Letty and ask what she was doing there, she wrapped her arm around his, surprising him with the unexpected act. He tried pulling away his arm, but Letty tightened her grip on him while keeping a sweet smile plastered on her face. "Oh my. Duke is such a regal name, isn't it? Let me see. Well, aren't you a fine young man, Mr. Duke? Why did you refuse a fine, young woman like Lady CIA? Huh? No. This is. Is it because of a difference in social status? Are you an earl? No, I'm a son of a baron. Then you're just equals. There isn't any problem, is there?" Duke glared at Letty. His look said, "Why in the world am I being interrogated by a woman I don't even know?" But Letty kept her poker face and did not help him in redirecting the woman's chatter. A man joined in their conversation. "Or maybe you want to be a member of the Knights of the Round, don't ya, Mr. Duke? Our next ruler is a queen, after all." "Ha ha ha. But isn't it impossible for someone like you to be a Knight of the Round? So why don't you just give up and be Lady CIA's knight?" The two strangers laughed amusedly while Duke straightened his back and did his best to keep a smiling countenance. "Being made fun of makes me want to say that the next queen you're talking about had already offered me the first seat to her Knights of the Round. And I flatly rejected her. Duke, how about we talk while walking? I know you are still in patrol duty. I think that'll be best. I cannot stay here any longer. Duke said the required niceties and they took their leave, with him dragging Letitia by the hand as they were swallowed by the crowd. After putting some distance and going to a less crowded place, Duke released his anger. Oi! What are you doing here alone? Where are your guards? Letty twirled around, showing Duke her outfit as if saying, did you not realize it? But his face did not show any understanding. I am out traveling incognito, in disguise. I escaped from the castle. Huh? For someone appointed to be the next queen, you sure are a carefree person. That's the reason why you're called the leftover princess. Leftover princess? Let them say what they want to. They gave me that title as a princess and not as a queen, Letty said flatly, flipping her hair over her shoulders with her hand. You can call this a job, you know, like information gathering. Information gets distorted as it gets farther from the source, so I sometimes go out to gather it directly since most of the information regarding the town will be so distorted once it reaches me in the castle and I already find it to highly unreliable. Is that so? Duke was on guard with their surroundings as he listened to Letty's story, since she went to town alone and unescorted and he would have to protect her if something happened. But for Letty, she had no need for a guard, for she was strongest when alone and can move freely. I agree that what you're doing, listening to your people, is a good thing as their next ruler, but I feel that you are already familiar with them. Why is that when you were appointed to be the heir just last month? Indeed, what you said is correct. My succession to the throne was formally declared last month on my birthday, but I already knew. I already knew I would be queen. I only did not how it would happen, but I was sure that I would be. I did not bother telling anyone about this because I was sure no one would believe me. Anyway, I will be dragging you anywhere and everywhere to hear the stories around town. Let us start now. We still have a lot of places to go to. Huh? No, we're going back to the castle. I'll send you home now. I will forgive your casual speech today, but speak with me in that manner again tomorrow and you will find yourself crying because of treason. Are we clear? Yes? Then let us go over there. Letty pointed out an accessory shop across the road and she went inside to take a look at ribbons. Since Duke could not possibly say goodbye and leave her, he, in his knight uniform, unwillingly followed the princess into the shop. Seeing a knight approach his shop, the shop owner promptly went out to greet him and ask if there were anything wrong. No. I'm just with her. Ah, I see. You're Lady CIA's lover, are you not? A beautiful lady and a courageous knight, what a perfect couple. Duke wondered how everyone they met came to that conclusion. But if he told them that they were not lovers, they would surely ask him how they were related. Since he did not know Letty's setting for her disguise, he could not say anything careless. Young man, you know, this is the time when the man pays for his lady. If you're not careful about these kinds of things, you might find yourself abandoned in the near future. Even though Duke thought that he would be rather glad to be abandoned, he still grudgingly took out his wallet and paid for Letty's ribbons. He could not fathom why she, the princess of the kingdom, would have to buy her ribbons in this little shop when she probably had more than enough ribbons for her to use in a lifetime. Here, have some tea. Why, thank you. Thanks. Letty started a conversation with the shop owner as they drank their tea. Their topic was, of course, the season's hottest news, the next queen. The shop owner said that the next queen was apparently a very beautiful princess, and Letty threw in her complete agreement. It seemed that Letty did not have the charms of being shy or modest. Have you met her, Lady CIA? No, a poor baron's daughter cannot possibly have met her, though I have seen her from afar. How about you, Duke? From afar, yes. They said that Princess Letitia is a very splendid princess. I heard that she was the one who suggested and built the hospital in the west and the orphanage in the south. She was also the first one to donate for our festival here. The two princes competing for the crown, Prince Friedhelm and Prince Guido, focused on the military and foreign relations. Letty, on the other hand, was more active in promoting education and welfare. She had two reasons for doing so: one, to avoid her brother's eyes, and two, to get the hearts of the citizens. The good opinion that people had of her was proof of her hard work throughout the years. Letty brought Duke everywhere she went to listen to the stories and opinions about the next queen. They had the consensus that if a civil war would be the result of either one of the princes ascending the throne, then it was a whole lot better if the kind-hearted princess succeeded the crown. Everyone welcomed the idea of having Princess Letitia as their next ruler. After walking for a long time, Letty finally decided that it was time for her to go back to the castle. Your reputation is quite good, huh? Duke complimented Letty as they walked towards the castle. His family was part of the peerage, though barely making the cut, and he had considered himself to be more affiliated with the Royal Chivalric Order, so he was quite naive when it came to the world of the nobles. But even someone like him only knew Princess Letitia as a kind and delicate princess before she was selected as the successor to the throne, but this changed to be the meek and beautiful leftover princess. I know that I am popular among the common people, However, the nobles and members of the peerage consider me as unimportant, and that irritates me. Letty had 3 objectives for this particular incognito walk. First was to gather the latest rumors and gossip. Second was to know more about Duke as person, and third, to show Duke how good her reputation stood with the citizens. Based on Duke's reaction, Letty judged her plan a complete success. His opinion of her was slowly changing, moving away from the leftover princess. Letty thought that this is the perfect chance to attack him. So, did you change your mind about being my knight after hearing how good I am? Her first move was to lay down some of her cards on the table to gain his trust. This kind of game was Letty's specialty. Let me tell you the reason why I selected you. Letty turned around and faced Duke. Her eyes were the same last night, filled with insight that could not possibly be owned by a woman. Had Letty been a man, Duke would have asked her for a duel. I already knew that I would be queen. I just did not know when or how, but thinking about it logically, there is a high possibility that both of my older brothers were already dead, so I never thought of establishing my own chivalric order. You knew? Duke convinced himself that it was probably through fortune-telling or some prophecy, but Letty's eyes told otherwise. Her eyes plainly say that she just simply knew. I wanted my brothers to be protected by the best of the best, so I did not mind even if the best knights were recruited to 7th Heaven or Valkyrie. I did not want to succeed the throne because they died. But that did not happen, and now, I am in a predicament of completing my Knights of the Round with the rejects, those that were not selected by either of my brothers. So am I supposed to have my knights that could only even be considered as tolerable? This is unreasonable. There's no helping it, you started late in the race. Duke understood Letty's point. The 2 princes, Prince Friedhelm and Prince Guido, both had the abilities and qualities of a king. It was natural that the talented knights would gather around them. So all of the knights left for Letty to choose from were those that were not chosen by either of the princes. Being grouped among them somehow hurt Duke's pride, but he would not think about it for now. So if there is one among the rejects who can fill the first seat of the Knights of the Round, then that will be you, Duke Barchet, only you. Duke thought that indeed, Letty was not just a leftover princess. Seeing her think and analyze about this matter made him feel that she may have in her the makings of a wise ruler. However, that alone was not enough for him to be her knight and bow down to her as his master. Princess, your highness, I. Duke suddenly sensed that something was wrong. He swiftly pulled Letty near him and covered her with his back. Soon, 3 street thugs came out of the shadows. Hey lady, we're a bit short on cash here, why don't you lend us some? You have a knight with you, of course you have some money there. Duke readied his hand on his sword, clicked his tongue and asked Letty in a whisper, your cover's not yet blown, right? 3 professional assassins will be tough to handle even for me, you know. Duke was well aware how dangerous Letty's position was as the heir to the throne. She did take away the crown from her 2 brothers, regardless of whether she had a part in it or not. If truth be told, there were probably more people who would want her in harm's way rather than protect her. The 3 men might be normal thugs, but the worst case was that they were assassins sent by someone who thought Letty as a big hindrance in their plans. Duke's mind was already in a swirl of possibilities for this situation compared to Letty's calm demeanor and somehow indifferent sigh. Are you seriously telling me that? Huh? Duke thought that Letty would call him stupid since she looked like she would, but instead he got a pat on his shoulder. The only person I know to be more beautiful than I do is Prince Guido. Do you not think it is quite natural that a knight dating someone as beautiful as me will be asked for a duel or 2? Don't call yourself beautiful. Try and be a bit modest, won't you? For someone with my beauty, I think being modest simply sounds sarcastic. You can handle something like this, can you not? Do what you have to do and do not mind about your back at all. Duke thought that answering her with the decided yes, you are beautiful or I don't think so was just troublesome, and maybe sincerely complimenting her might give a more refreshing reaction. Though shy and modest women are cuter and more to my liking. Duke still had a few things to say, but decided that it would be better focus at the task at hand. If you back down now, you'll be leaving without a scratch. But if you dare lay your hands on her, don't think that this'll be over with a wound or 2. 'Cause if you do anything to her, the princess and the next queen of this kingdom, you might regret you did anything. Be prepared to receive a capital punishment for that. Duke charged towards the attackers and the battle started. His swordsmanship is indeed one of the best I have seen. I am glad that he is as good as the report says. The scene playing in front of Letty was enough to send a normal princess crying, but Letty was no ordinary princess, and she watched the fight intently. Duke, despite fighting 1 against 3, had the upper hand in the battle and he had yet to draw his sword. He hit them either with the hilt of his sword or his fist. His fighting style was in no way elegant and fit for a knight, but this also meant that he had the confidence to win without even drawing his weapon. Letty watched over the fight with a satisfied smile on her face. It was better than she had expected. Then she felt an additional presence from behind, drawing her attention from the battle in front. More company? Just when I had the chance to watch Duke in action, I guess it cannot be helped then. Letty turned around to face the newcomers and snapped her finger. Oi. Are you okay? Yes, I am fine. It was a complete win against 3 opponents without even a single scratch. They were not that strong, but it was not easy either. You really are fit to be a knight, to be my knight. Hey. Duke found 2 unconscious men lying on the floor beside Letty. He asked Letty who they were with his eyes, and Letty replied by looking down at the men as if saying that he noticed it too late. Maybe they were planning to get your attention first, then their other members would attack me, but too bad for them because I know how to defend myself. Even so. You should have called my attention when you noticed that there were others. Do you know how dangerous your situation is? What would you do if you got hurt? I was the one who said to you that you need not worry about your back. I just wanted to keep my word. Huh? But that is not the whole of it. I also wanted to show you that I can fend for myself, that I was not just a beautiful princess and to have you owe me by protecting your back. That was why I finished them myself, but I guess it had the opposite effect and made you worry. You are a kinder person than I thought you were. Letty smoothly shrugged off Duke's anger. Duke felt awkward when Letty pointed out that he was worried about her. He convinced himself that it was normal for a knight to worry about the future queen and that his worry was nothing personal. Yes, I was worried for the next queen and not because I care about her. Senpai. Someone reported that a beautiful lady is in danger. An optimistic voice from the sky broke the two's awkwardness. They looked up to see where the voice came from when their vision suddenly turned dark and a human form was going down straight at them. Even the calm Princess Letty could not hide her surprise. Kaya. The person who jumped from the roof and landed perfectly on the ground was Duke's junior, Astrid Gale. He stood up quickly as if it were nothing. He looked at Duke and noticed Letty standing beside him. Astrid stared at Letty's face, thinking that she somehow looked familiar. Duke thought that it would be bad if Astrid recognized her, so he quickly went between them to block Astrid's view, but it was too late. Princess. Duke grabbed Astrid's head and dragged him closer. She is in disguise right now due to certain circumstances, so keep it low. Do not tell anyone this, got that? Duke said with his threatening voice known to make a crying child cry more. Astrid was overwhelmed with Duke's presence and nodded accordingly while repeating Duke's words, saying that he would not tell this to anyone. Astrid, I'll be sending this beautiful lady home, so can I leave things here with you? And another thing, how many times have I already told you not to run on the roofs? We had already received a complaint that an elderly woman nearly got a heart attack when she saw you doing that. Yeah, but I cannot run in full speed on the road because of the people. Besides, I thought that it would be better if I reached the crime scene as soon as possible, so I decided to use the roofs as shortcuts. Duke sighed, feeling tired with all the things happening. He wanted to give Astrid a long sermon but lost the energy to do so. This was one of the reasons why Astrid was known as a tension remover. He was a knight with skills enough to go up the top, but his character was not suited to be one. Duke decided to put off his sermon for now since ensuring Letty's safety was more important than disciplining Astrid. I'll listen to your report later at camp. Do you need any help or reinforcements? There are quite a handful of them, so I will appreciate it if they could spare some hands. Got it. I'll have them send some help. Duke and Astrid did the necessary exchange for the transfer of authority. Then, Duke firmly held Letty's shoulder, shielding her away from Astrid's sight as they walk away. Letty did not even have a chance to say a word and was forced to walk without further discussion. She snuck a look at Astrid Gale and committed his face to her memory. You have a quite pleasant junior, Duke. I've got no complaints on his skills, but... His name? Astrid Gale. He is from a commoner's family, but he does have the skills enough to be the leader of the order. It is no exaggeration that he is the type of person that comes once in a century. Letty only saw Astrid as a young lad with red hair and gentle green eyes. His presence was more of a baker in training than that of a knight of the Royal Chivalric Order. But to hear Duke praise him openly, Letty thought that he was worth being investigated. Based on Duke's assessment, he can be one of my knights, but if he really was that good, then it is highly probable he is already someone else's. Is he already someone's honorary knight? Is he already a member of someone's private order, such as Prince Friedhelm's Seventh Heaven or Prince Guido's Valkyrie? The word knight in Somavessel had 2 meanings. One was royal knight. This referred to the members of the Royal Chivalric Order established to protect the peace and order of the kingdom. To join the order, one had to study for 2 years in the Knight Academy regardless of social status, commoner or noble. After graduating from the academy, an entrance exam would be taken to join the order, and only those who passed it became a full-fledged knight of the Royal Chivalric Order. The other meaning was honorary knight. Once a person swore allegiance to a master, he could already be considered as an honorary knight. Honorary knights come in many types. There were those who acted as bodyguards to their master, and there were those who were simply knights by name and were selected due to their cleverness and skills. There were also some who simply wanted to flaunt their master's connection and rank. Seventh Heaven and Valkyrie were the private chivalric orders established by Letty's brothers. Members of those two orders were all talented and superior knights that no one would dare contest. He is currently not serving anyone, but I know he is receiving invitations to join several orders. If you want, I can formally introduce you to him, Duke suggested to Letty, hoping that she would give up on him, but Letty did not give it a second thought. No, thank you. I currently have my eye on one knight right now, you. What was that we were talking about again? Before all of this commotion happened, right? Letty turned around and faced Duke. I was able to observe you, albeit a short time. When you accidentally met me in the street, you kept your composure and calmly scanned the area to ensure my safety. Your fighting style was not tied down by aesthetics, and your insight is not clouded by age or social status. Out of all the rejects, you really stand out. Now, I want you to be my knight even more. Letty's feelings changed from Duke being the only one to being the one. Duke Barchet, I order you to be my knight. Gratefully accept the first seat in my Knights of the Round. Hurry up and bow down to me. Duke rejected Letty's previous invitation with a simple I refuse, but this invitation was different from the last. The words were the same, but the weight behind those words was different. Duke decided to not run away and replied with the same gravity. I felt the sincerity in your words now, so I shall give you an honest answer in return. I wanted to be Prince Friedhelm's knight. And I still feel the same. That's it. No matter how appealing you might be as a master, you are not Prince Friedhelm and never will be. Duke and Friedhelm were classmates in the Knight Academy and they became friends easily. Duke believed that Friedhelm could be a good king and wanted to support the kingdom together with him. Friedhelm, too, felt the same way. So after graduating from the academy, Friedhelm asked Duke to be his knight, but due to the structure of the peerage, where Duke's family was under Guido, he refused Friedhelm's offer and decided to stay under Guido out of duty to his family. Letty answered nonchalantly to Duke's obvious refusal. Until here is fine. It will be more troublesome if they find us. When they reached the castle's wall, Letty set her foot on the space in the wall and easily lifted herself up to the top. Duke was thinking about having that gap filled in to prevent her from going to any of her incognito walks as he watched the princess climb up the wall. Regarding your answer a while ago, Letty spoke to Duke from atop the wall, wearing a confident smile on her beautiful face. I take it that you have trusted me enough to reveal your true feelings to me. Were you even listening to what I said, Your Highness? Yes. Listen, I did. But only listen. Letty went down the wall after saying that, disappearing from Duke's sight. She really is just as the rumors say, a beautiful princess. But the rumors are not complete. Because inside, she is the perfect queen. Her high-handed personality and self-centeredness reminds me of someone. But with this, I can say that Sommervessel's future is safe. Duke thought that the leftover princess would definitely be a brilliant queen and that it would be better if she could get excellent people to support her. But some part of him underestimated her persistency and thought that if he continued rejecting her offer, she would come to give up on him eventually. Astrid, left to clean up the scene, was tying each person lying on the floor unconscious with a rope. The only thing left for him to do was to wait for the others to come and help him bring the rogues back to camp for further questioning and write the incident report. 1 versus 5. Duke-senpai is really amazing. Astrid walked towards the two unconscious men who had been lying on the floor beside Letty to confirm if they still had any weapons hidden in them. Upon inspection, he found that each of the men had one red straight mark on their nape. One hit on the neck rendered them unconscious. It's already hard to cause a concussion, and to make it this cleanly, Duke-senpai really is amazing. He probably did this with the sword's sheath. Astrid looked at the direction where Duke and Letty walked. I wish I had the chance to fight these men with Duke-senpai. But Astrid had no way of knowing that Letty was the one who rendered these two men unconscious, so it would never cross his mind to wonder how she defeated them without any weapon on her to make those red marks, as if from a sword's sheath. A nostalgic scent was swept by the wind, calling out one of Astrid's buried memories and stopping his movement momentarily as he inspected the unconscious men. Which one of them is him? As soon as those words came out of his lips, Astrid, the speaker himself, wondered about the meaning behind those words. Letty had a high reputation as the perfect model princess. That was true until she was announced as the heir to the throne, and her reputation dropped down to the leftover princess. This was true even to her father, the current king of Sommervessel. The leftover princess, who suddenly became the successor, should be groomed and taught about subjects necessary to become a ruler, including politics, law and history. To do that, the king assigned the top scholars in the kingdom to be her masters. That part of the plan was fine until then. Letty also liked to assure her father that she was giving her time and effort to improve herself, so she attended her classes diligently. However, Princess Letitia, Prince Leonhardt has come. Let him in. Yes, Your Highness. The history master her father assigned to her was none other than her younger brother, Prince Leonhardt. Leonhardt Zurkreutzer was the third prince and the fourth child of the king. He was known as the genius historian, fourth child of the king and the third prince, also known as a weird and eccentric person. Most thought that this reputation, which he also used as his self-introduction, was the perfect description of him. Leonhardt greeted Letty cheerfully. He, among all of the king's children who were all already known as eccentric, sparkled as the oddest ball in the lot. Good morning, Ainui. You seem to be in a good. I mean, not so good mood today. Ha ha ha. The story, or rather the rumor, about Baron Barchet's son rejecting you has spread in the castle like wildfire, you know, fufufu. If Leonhardt would only groom himself up even just a little, he would be branded as handsome as his sister. Together with Letty, they would be known as beautiful siblings, sharing the same blonde hair and steel blue eyes. But that was all wishful thinking, as Prince Leonhardt cared not a single cent about his appearance. He was wearing a shabby white coat as a jacket and a pair of glasses that strangely reflected light too strongly enough to cloud the glasses itself. His manner of speaking also maximized his lungs' capacity to the fullest without caring to whom he was speaking with. These characteristics wasted his handsome face, and he enjoyed the people's disappointment. I do not mind if it spreads like wildfire. It should spread enough to reach the houses of the noble families lest it will be a problem for me. That way I can ward off those who wanted to have Duke as a knight for their daughters. They would not want to get Princess Letitia's favorite knight, would they? The reason why Letty dressed up glamorously when she invited Duke to be her knight despite knowing it was out of place was to have people talk and gossip about it. If this story had even reached her brother, who was normally ignorant about these kinds of things, then her plan was a success. I chose Duke Barchet because I thought he was the best one among the rejects, but he was better than I expected. But enough about me and my knights. Tell me, what are those papers? Do not tell me, you have decided to be a teacher for real? Leonhardt brought with him a small chalkboard, a stack of paper, and a single book. This is a history book, though its contents are more of bedtime stories, ha ha ha. Then, these papers are from Friedhelm Neue. I met him on my way here. Here you go. Letty took the history book and placed it on her desk. Then she took a sheet from the stack of paper and crumpled it into a ball after glancing at it for a second. He really does not know when to give up. What is it? Let me see. Leonhardt dumped the papers on the desk, then picked up and straightened the piece of paper Letty had just crumpled. On the paper was a portrait of a man and his personal information, such as the name and family lineage. Leonhardt soon understood that the papers were of a husband candidate for Letty. Why, isn't he a good-looking chap? But you cannot trust portrait artists to draw exactly how the models look like or they might lose their profession, ahaha. Hey Ainui, doesn't he look a bit like Friedhelm Neue? Are they not related? I mean, he is from the Friedhelm faction. Leonhardt continued to press the issue like he was selling something. He kept on telling Letty the good points of the man, like his good social status and that he was too good a catch to let go, etc. He spoke like this topic was not wholly connected to his sister. He was Letty's only full brother, yet he only saw the situation as amusing and made fun of it. Silence. You are the last person I want to talk about marriage, you are single yourself. Better just use that mouth of yours to talk about your research. You make more sense when you do. Yes, yes, shall we start our lesson? Leonhardt declared, and wrote something on the chalkboard he brought with him. Letty thought that his eccentric personality was represented clearly by his peculiar handwriting, which rose upward to the right. Our first topic is about Sommerwessel's first king, the Night King Christian. It is also not clear whether he really existed or not, right? The founding king of the kingdom felt more like a legend than an ancestor. Sommerwessel's children were raised hearing King Christian's adventures as bedtime stories. The world of man was in chaos due to evil. One god named Christian descended from the heavens and transformed a part of God's power into swords and granted these swords to man. So Christian with his 12 disciples defeated evil and founded the kingdom of Sommerwessel. This kind of legend of origin can easily be found in any country, right? Leonhardt gestured at the board with his pointing stick and traced the name written on the board. I already know that. Ahaha. Of course you do. I forgot about that. If you were born and raised in Sommerwessel, you should have heard about this. Sorry about that. Ahahaha. But. Hey. Don't you think the name given to the swords of the Night King kind of lame? The Knight's swords is not really creative. Or is it just me? Leonhardt wrote with his right hand the Knight's swords on the board. I had the same opinion. So? I also happen to know that already. Ahahaha. Yeah, you're right. Then the god's power was divided into 12 swords known as the Promised Swords and given to the 12 knights who swore loyalty to King Christian. They held their military meetings over a round table where everyone is equal and can freely share the opinions. This practice continued to be passed on until it became a tradition that is continued on today. This is where the Knights of the Round is believed to be originated. But the stories after that are blurry and feel more like to be fiction. Why? Because Old Night King's sword was preserved, even though it is old and is stored as a national treasure, but not even one of the 12 promised swords were left. How many times do I have to say it to you? I already know that, arg. This is a total waste of my time. Why must I take the lectures of my younger brother? Moreover, the lesson is about a fairy tale told to every child in the kingdom when it is time to go to bed. Letty exploded. She could no longer take any more of the stupid lesson while Leonhardt continued to write on the board, and laughingly said that there was nothing Letty could do about it. Our father, the honorable king, was the one who decided to select you as his heir to prevent a civil war between the factions of the first and second princes. So he thought that he had to groom you in becoming a ruler. I said that I met our eldest brother a while ago, right? I properly greeted him. I said, "How are you doing, prince that will divide the kingdom into two? Are you enjoying your day filled with thrill knowing the other has sent assassins targeting your life? As for me, I am enjoying the perfect day. Ever since it was announced that I will succeed the throne, their competition has somehow cooled down, giving me a respite from it." Scary. Leonhardt blurted out as he shrugged his shoulders. For her brothers who do not consider her as a sister, Letty simply returned their sentiments and did not think of them as her brothers either. And since we're at it, let's talk about this important thing for a king of this kingdom. Leonhardt wrote Knights of the Round on the board. For your information, father particularly emphasized that this is the one topic that I should discuss thoroughly with you. But I know you have already tired of this topic, so I'll say this quickly. Yes. Please do. At 3 times your normal speed. When Letty was a child, she was told that there was no need for her to study history, law, political science, and the ways of a ruler because the throne would definitely be succeeded by either of her elder brothers. But Letty still studied all of these, so these classes her father asked her to take were really unnecessary. However, in order to appease her father, who thought she needed them, she had no choice but to come and attend. Okay, let's start with the question, what is a knight? Knights draw their swords only to protect the kingdom. This is the motto of our royal chivalric order, their swords are to protect and not to hurt. But if you look at it from the enemy's perspective, they are getting hurt, right? Ha ha ha. But I think saying that they protect all of Somavessel is a bit far-fetched, don't you think? So, just as there are kings who dream of world peace and yet simply care for the safety of his family, the idealistic aim of many knights is to serve the country, and their realistic goal is to vow loyalty and swear their allegiance to their chosen master. There were several honorary chivalric orders around the kingdom. 2 of the most famous ones were the 7th Heaven of Prince Friedhelm and the Valkyrie of Prince Guido. But the most famous and most prestigious of all chivalric orders was the Order of the King, the Knights of the Round. Leonhardt drew a circle around the words Knights of the Round to emphasize his point. Our older brothers Friedhelm and Guido both created their own private chivalric orders in preparation for their ascension to the throne, right? They might have even thought to complete all 12 when they became the king. But they were pleasantly disappointed. Both of the princes had gathered skillful knights to their orders, so that making them Knights of the Round would not bring shame to the name. Letty had been relieved because of this fact, but with the way things were now, the situation was just frustrating. Then on the coronation ceremony of the king. Oh, right. When will your coronation ceremony be? The earliest might be in a few years. Father seemed to be thinking of establishing a stable Queen Letitia administration while he is still healthy and can still control our 2 older brothers. If Letty happened to ascend the throne because of her father's death, there was a high possibility that her 2 brothers or their supporters would attack the newly established administration. So Letty was indeed grateful for the king's intention of letting her take over the crown while he could still act as her guardian. I see. During that coronation ceremony, each one of your Knights of the Round will take their stand in front of the pillars in the throne room when you take your oath as the ruler of the kingdom. There are 12 pillars, and you should have 12 knights by that time. Completing the 12 knights is your current mission, but until that day, will you? Leonhardt questioningly looked at Letty, stilling his gaze on her in the middle of his ramblings made him look a little scary. Be able to do it? Ahahaha. Of course I can. I will get 12 knights and none of them will be less than worthy of the title. Letty's eyes sparkled, her eyes oozing with determination. In contrast was Leonhardt, who folded his arms and nodded in thought. But I think this is where you have to compromise, ain't. All of the good knights are either in 7th Heaven or in Valkyrie already. In this kind of situation, I do not care even if I have to steal them. Or maybe it will be more interesting if I just make our 2 older brothers my knights? Letty knew that she would inherit the throne. But that was it. She did not know what kind of a ruler would she be, and that uncertainty had poked her on the side so much recently that it already hurt. Letty's first task as the heir to the crown was to gather 12 knights to fill in all the seats in her Knights of the Round. She had decided that she would only get the best of best. A half-hearted Knights of the Round was only fit for the leftover princess and not the queen she wanted to be. I recommend the commoner but talented rookie, Astrid Jevois. Letty threw the history book at the babbling Leonhardt, cutting him off. Then she graciously grabbed and flipped the hem of her dress and walked out of the room. Ain't? I shall go and court again the leftover princess lover. Listening to you made me realize that I should hurry up. So for that point, today's lecture had meaning. Letty left Leonhardt in her room. 3 guards then prepared to follow her as her escorts, but she waved them off to leave her alone. The guards were perplexed for a moment, and Letty used this opportunity to run away and go to the Royal Chivalric Order's camp. The knights were startled when they saw Letty walking into their camp. Some could not even prevent themselves and started whispering with each other. Letty was not bothered with their useless gossip and simply continued to walk on towards her target. Why, if it isn't the next queen, a good day, your highness. Letty's target was, of course, Duke Barchet. Duke's expression clearly showed that Letty was just a pain and he wanted her to give up on him already. But when he noticed that she did not have any guards with her, he immediately scanned the surroundings. Your highness, what happened to your guards? Letty became the heir to throne by overtaking her 2 older brothers. It is obvious to everyone that until she became queen. No, even she had ascended the throne, her life would be in constant danger. But despite that, Letty was again outside, alone without any guards, and Duke was alarmed for her. Oi, 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 what is her guards doing, letting her wander off again alone like? Yesterday. Oh, yes. It is dangerous for me to be alone. I know that, but I have some business to do in the inner room. What shall I do? Letty did not stop in her steps and continued to walk towards the inner room. Don't move. I'll get someone to escort you. You are addressing me again in a casual manner. Repeat. Yesterday is already over. Please stay where you are, your highness. I shall call someone to accompany you. But Letty did not lend an ear to Duke's words and proceeded to go further into the hall, so Duke was left with no choice but to be Letty's escort. TSK. Darn it. This woman left her guards on purpose to make me follow her. Duke scanned the area, hoping to meet someone's eye, but every one of the knights in the camp averted his gaze away from him. If only his junior Astrid, who idolized the princess, were here, he would have passed this task to him, but unfortunately he was nowhere in sight. Princess. Your highness. SHHH. This is no longer the order's camp, so will you keep quiet? Duke clicked his tongue one last time and gave in to his fate. He followed Letty wherever she intended to go, realizing that he had just fallen perfectly in her trap. I can't simply abandon her. It's not like we're totally unrelated. I fully understand that this leftover princess has the difficult task of keeping her neutral stance. I of all people, truly understand that feeling. Letty continued to walk deeper down the hall, feeling grateful for Duke's innate kindness. Then she stopped upon reaching a hall that stretched for some distance, the Gallery of Kings. This is where the portraits of the kings are placed. This is the first king, the Knight King Christian. Duke saw the portraits of the kings lined up and arranged on the walls for the first time. The way the portraits were painted varied per time period, and he was so amazed by the paintings that he stared at them quite seriously. The 12th king, Lion King Alexander, and beside him, the 13th king, Revolution King Julius. King Julius killed his master, Lion King Alexander, and he never justified what he did. He had his portrait painted with him holding the crown instead of wearing it to tell the future people that this crown was never his. Such a story would make one wonder why he started the revolution in the first place. Who knows? Even the Lion King himself did not know the reason, so how would I know? You sounded like you've asked him directly. Is he your acquaintance? Letty did not reply to Duke's banter and simply took a few steps forward, then stopped. Lion King Alexander never lost a single battle during his reign. In contrast to that, the 18th king, Administrative King Karl-Heinz, never waged a war or started a single battle with other countries. King Karl-Heinz, together with his queen, rebuilt the country that was turned into rubble because of the war. They focused on internal reform and diplomacy. He was truly a wise monarch. The idiom 55 bows came from him. Was that about him bowing 55 times in asking someone to be his knight? Yes, that is it. How about you? How many more times shall I bow my head before you agree to become my knight? Have you ever bowed your head down to me? I don't remember seeing you bow down yesterday or even the day before that. Duke unwittingly retorted to Letty's statement, and she just replied, "Is that so?" and continued to walk on. She stopped in front of an empty space where no portraits adorned the wall. My painting will be placed here. I wonder what my title would be. I pray that it will not be a bad name. Letty uttered the same prayer in her heart. What kind of a ruler will I be? What posthumous title will they give me? Will I be known as a wise monarch like the past and future reincarnations of the Night King? These were Letty's fears, which came from the fact that she knew herself perfectly, that she could not win against her 2 older brothers when it came to having the qualities and disposition perfect for a king. The face of the Lion King Alexander, the abilities of Administrator King Karl-Heinz, and the personality of one-handed King Oswald. Huh? Duke said, not understanding the meaning behind Letty's words. The traits of my ideal man. If Letty told this to anyone, many would take it as a joke to mean that her standards were high, that she could not find a man to like, or that she had no need for a husband. Duke was starting to think that way, but he noticed the true meaning behind her words upon seeing her stern profile. Ah, I see. Your ideal king. But I do not know who the one-handed king is. Duke noticed the truth behind Letty's joke. As she gazed at the portraits, he saw envy, jealousy, and self-doubt reflected in her eyes. He suddenly remembered Letty's age. She was but a girl who had turned 17 the previous month. For a 23-year-old man like him, Letty was just a child. Yet the way this princess confidently stood with her back perfectly straight made one forget that she, this young lady, carried a heavy responsibility on her shoulders. No, they are my rivals. Yes, rivals, right. Rivals. They really are rivals. You do understand that, do you not? Letty was unusually irritated. The reason was probably because Duke was able to see through her and read her true feelings. She indignantly turned her back on Duke, who was saying his condescending agreement, and she walked 8 steps deeper into the room. The portrait of one-handed King Oswald will be placed here, and a little bit further will be the portrait of the heartbroken King Ledger. It seems that he and the succeeding kings are no longer directly descended from my line. Huh? We are going to the Night King's space. Follow me. Letty ignored Duke's questioning look and continued to walk deeper into the hallway and stopped on a spot where the walls continue endlessly. This is the Night King's space. But I only see walls here. Is it something that can only be seen by the royal family? What do you mean? This is just a wall. Letty did not say outright, "Are you stupid?" but her attitude and tone says otherwise. Before Duke could even ask his question of why she was showing him a wall, Letty spoke. The Night King's space is a room with no doors. That is why no one can enter it. You mean like a hidden room? Not really. The Night King's space did not even serve the purpose of an emergency shelter. It was simply a structure surrounded by walls all around. Duke knocked at the wall several times and wondered what the room was really for. Does making a room like that have any meaning? From what I heard, the Night King Christian had the room made. Shall I ask him if ever we meet? I would also like to know the reason. Yes, please do. The interior, I think it is hollow judging from the sound, but it doesn't sound like it was filled in by rocks or stones, so I guess it really is a room. Duke thought that maybe it had been enclosed by walls accidentally when it was built when Letty started to speak and pointed at it. Embroidered on the carpet is the story of the gods, framed with golden ears of grain, and on the ceiling hangs a wooden chandelier, the kind no longer seen around here. On floor, above the carpet, is a patina oak table. Chairs created out of the same wood are scattered around the room. All of the furnishings are adorned by carvings so beautiful, they could be masterpieces of art. They are like gems, priceless in their rarity and beauty. Have you seen the inside of the room? How could I, when there are no existing documents or paintings depicting it? But your description was rather detailed, and I have always been told that I have a very vivid imagination. Letty finished her business in the Gallery of Kings and proceeded to walk out of the room. Duke followed behind her, sighing loudly enough for Letty to hear. He wanted to ask sarcastically if she was done and satisfied, but swallowed back his words. He decided not to voice them, as he could still remember Letty's stern face as she looked at the king's portraits. Letty would be a queen. Not feeling anxious, scared or worried was far stranger. Going to the Gallery of Kings to sort out her feelings and thoughts while surrounded by the kings she idolized so much was just a natural thing for someone like her to do. My stroll ends here. I am going back. Come with me and have some refreshments as thanks for escorting me. I will go with you and send you back to the castle. But I will pass on the refreshments. Thank you for the offer. Just go inside and drink tea. I do not want any weird rumors going around saying that I do not treat my visitors well. Duke, once again, swallowed back his retort that her offer was really for herself and not his. He repeated in his mind that he was the adult here and silently followed Letty. Upon seeing Letty return, her guards hurriedly went to her, followed by her maid. Princess. We're glad you're safe. Yes, I am. The knight behind me served as my escort. Prepare tea in the summer house. Letty gave her orders to the maid and then ordered her guards to stay outside. In the summer house, the expensive-looking tea set prepared for them was placed on an elegant table with matching chairs. Duke was so nervous thinking what he would do if he, a son of a poor and lowly baron, spilled tea or snacks on the immaculately white lace tablecloth. I would like to say relax and take your time, but my older brother shall come here in a while. But you can stay if you want to listen to a sibling's squabble. The maid poured tea into the cup and silently placed it in front of them. The maid, who was either thoroughly trained by Letty or knew her master well, left the two of them alone and went out of the room even without an order from Letty. May I ask you something? You are the eldest son of a baron, right? So why did you enter the Knight Academy and become a knight in the Royal Chivalric Order? Perhaps you have a dire financial need? If I say I have? Then I would use that chance to make you owe me. I will pay your family's debt and make you bow down your head to me. So you really need not be troubled about it. Of course I'll be troubled. With what you were planning to do. It was not unusual for nobles to join the order. Those who joined were normally the younger sons, who would not inherit the title, or those who would like to add prestige in their name before marriage. However, eldest sons like Duke, who would succeed the title, were rare. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but we're not in debt. I am just a man trying to be the man I want to be. But I'm sure, your highness will not understand. Duke did not expect to see a surprised reaction from Letty. He thought that she would answer him with one of her witticisms. I see. So what are you planning now? Planning to do what? Planning to do with your future. The competition for the throne is finished for now, so there is no need for you to stay on neutral ground. Do you have plans on joining Seventh Heaven? The competition indeed has settled for now, but the battle for political power still remains. So in the end, the rivalry between the Prince Friedhelm and Prince Guido factions is not yet over. Letty was chosen to be the heir to the crown, the next queen, but up until now, the next queen had yet to decide who her king would be. So it was natural that there were those nobles thinking of making their sons her husband, and then would control the Queen Letitia administration as their puppet government. I see your head does not only have swords in it. I do not see my stupid brothers giving up soon. They keep on sending me portraits for my husband candidates, and I can soon fill a treasure room with those. That is quite something. Would you like to take a look? You can get any that catches your fancy. I will pass on that. I do not have the hobby of decorating my room with portraits of men. I see. Letty elegantly brought the cup to her lips and took a sip of her tea without even making a sound. Then she suddenly stood up. What's row? Before Duke could finish his question, his trained eyes saw Letty grab a spoon and throw it across to him when he was about to drink the tea, and with the impact of the spoon, his teacup split into pieces, spilling the liquid inside it onto the white tablecloth. Duke was already panicking, thinking of the damage this would cost him, and shouted at Letty. Oi! What do you think you're due? Poison. You have not drunk it yet, right? Not yet, but didn't you already? You are speaking casually again. I have immunity against poisons. All I need is a bit of rest and... Duke immediately went to Letty's side, knocking off the chair in the process. He knelt beside Letty to check on her. Just quit talking. I'll call a doctor. I am really fine, so keep quiet. Duke carried Letty, whose face suddenly turned blue and her breathing became faster. My first priority is to search for help. Oi! Somebody call a doctor. Princess Letitia was poisoned. Duke's voice echoed in Letty's ears. She repeated that she was just fine, but her words did not leave her lips. Anything wrong? Your face doesn't look good. Ah, I see. I lost consciousness. I think I was poisoned. Letty went to the Night King's space unconsciously. Lion King Alexander and Administrative King Karlheinz were present. Out of the 12 swords, minus the Night Sword, never ever grant to anyone the Earth Sword that heals and the Steel Sword that protects your body from attacks. King Alexander gave Letty this advice with a sluggish smile, as he was feeling irritated himself. Did you do that? Oh, yes I did. That is the reason why we, the reincarnations of Night King Christian, can leave such amazing achievements compared to other kings. If you have the Earth Sword, you can neutralize most poisons, and if you have the Steel Sword, a slash from a sword will simply be a shallow cut on you. I see. But according to history, you will be soon killed by your Prime Minister, will you not? Yeah. I wonder how he will kill me. King Alexander had already accepted his fated death and even said he was looking forward to it. Letty looked around the room with her arms folded across her chest. The wall was lined with a tapestry of charms for fairies. The carpet had the story of gods, multiple gods that Letty found it hard to believe, as their religion now was monotheist, with only one god. This space, this room, is really different from her time. What was Night King Christian thinking when he created this room? If he created this room for a place to gather his reincarnations, then why have we not seen him here even once? Maybe he just wanted an escape, just like us? Administrator King Karlheinz suggested in response to Letty's question. I have come to think that maybe he is here, only that we cannot see him. The Night King's space was a place for the kings to think of the what-ifs in their lives. What if King Alexander threw away the crown and abandoned the country? Would his life have been saved? Would he have lived? What if King Karlheinz threw away the crown and went after his wife? Would they have had the chance to go back to the way things were? Would they have a peaceful life together as husband-wife? And what if Letty would not be a good king? Would have it been better if her brothers, who were more suited to be kings, were the ones who inherited the crown? The kings could freely show their weaknesses in this space, where the only witnesses would be the other reincarnations of the Night King, who all lived in different times and would never cross paths. Letty thought she heard someone calling her and turned around looking for the voice, but there was no one there because the voice she heard was not from this space but from her reality. I will go now. Someone is calling me. That noisy voice is calling me. I guess it is time to wake up. and Letty left the Night King's space. Princess Letitia. Letty frowned at the low but noisy voice calling out her name by her ears. Even a cool, baritone voice could be a deadly weapon for someone not in their top condition. With a sword on my right and a shield on my left, I swear my allegiance to you until the day I die. If you say that, I will get up, said Letty to Duke, while she was still lying in bed with her eyes closed. The words that Letty recited were from the knight's oath. In other words, she was asking Duke to be her knight in order for her to wake up. I see you're already fine since you can already say that much. I shall take my leave now. Now. What time is it now? I see the sun has already set, but... Yes. The sun has set for the third time since you were poisoned. It has been 3 days already. Letty suddenly stood up upon hearing how long she had passed out. But the sudden movement and recent lack of it made her dizzy, and she stumbled back in bed. Judging it impossible to stand up straight in a spinning world, she gave up and simply sat on her bed. What do you mean 3 days? Oi, don't push yourself. Lie down. Too casual. Please lie down, Your Highness. You know, you've just crossed the line between life and death yesterday. It was a strong poison then. You would have died on the spot if you were the one who drank it. I am glad I stopped you on time. When Letty drank the tea, she felt a shock run through her body and her tongue go numb. She did know that she would not die because of poison, but no one said it would not be painful. So this incident taught her a lesson, and she reflected that she would be more careful next time. So how are things now? Was the perpetrator caught? Prince Leonhardt asked me to be your guard. He is the one leading the investigation in coordination with the Royal Chivalric Order, but from what I heard, they could not get any information from the maid no matter how hard they pressed her. Finding the real culprit might be difficult. Letty sighed in relief upon hearing Duke's report. I see. It is better not to find the real culprit. Duke was surprised with this reply. He had prepared himself for a bashing of the Order's incompetence, so Letty's unexpected answer confused him. Wouldn't it better if the culprit was caught? It'd guarantee your safety. No. Think. Who would be the prime suspects for this case? Prince Friedhelm and Prince Guido. Now, if decisive evidence comes up against either one of them, then the political balance I have created will crumble. Political balance? My 2 brothers should continue on keeping each other in check lest I find myself in less favorable situation. If either one of them gets lost in the picture, then the country would be divided between myself and the one who remains. The 3 of us have to keep this balance until the day we die. Keeping the kingdom's peace is more important than catching the culprit. Besides, will this not be better for you as well? You are Prince Friedhelm's friend, after all. Duke agreed that what Letty said was true. He would not want his friend to be the suspect for Letty's attempted murder. But, what about your feelings? You might have been killed by your brother, you know? Letty had spoken about prioritizing the kingdom with a calm face even though she had just woken up. But Duke already knew. He already knew that Letty was not only just a perfect princess, he knew that beyond her perfectly calm facade, there were more sides to her. Our warm filial relationship ended when I was 9, and for the last 8 years, all we've had is a cold sibling relationship. I do not wish for us to go back to the time when we were young children. Letty's tone suggested that this topic was over and that it was time to discuss other things. Putting that aside, my apologies for dragging you into this. I am sure it was not a pleasant experience being a suspect. Well, it couldn't be helped. I was in a position screaming to be a suspect anyway. When Letty collapsed because of the poisoned tea, Leonhardt suspected Duke right off the bat. Duke was Friedhelm's friend and his family was under Guido's faction. It would have been no wonder if he had been asked by either to do such a thing. You don't have to worry about me. Worry about yourself. Are you? Worried about me? I appreciate the feelings. Could you relay a message for me? Tell Leon to come here and that if anyone else comes inside, I will kill him. Brutal now, are we? Not me, them. Anyway, sorry for making you stay as my bodyguard. I know you also have your own job. I shall give my thanks formally later. Letty closed all discussions and pressed Duke to leave, but he had one last thing to ask. It was a spoon, right? The one you threw at me. Yes. What else did you see it as, a fork? Duke was not convinced with her answer, but he was confused when he was questioned back. He did see Letty throw a spoon, but it felt like it was something sharper. Will a teacup break because of a spoon hitting it? If the cup already has a crack, then it can be broken even with bare hands, right? Letty waved her hand, dismissing Duke. But Duke hesitated to leave because of 2 reasons. 1, he wanted to ask further about the spoon-breaking teacup incident, and 2, he felt it was too cold to simply leave after literally completing the task given to him of guarding Letty until she woke up. In the end, he chose to throw those thoughts aside and left Letty's room. After walking a few steps, Duke looked back at the closed door leading to Letty's room. He noticed that there was a part of him confused on what he should do next. Where exactly do I stand now? Duke was supposed to be in the middle, in a neutral ground where he was Friedhelm's friend and his family under Guido's faction, though personally, he was pro-Friedhelm. And yet he was looking at this incident from Letty's perspective. He immediately worried about her being nearly killed by her brothers without even having second thoughts about suspecting Friedhelm. A life was just saved right in front of your eyes. Of course it's natural for you to feel worried about her. It's just natural. Duke rationalized his feelings in his head, convincing himself that it was still too early for him to recognize the change of heart budding inside him. How is Ennui? Leonhardt found Duke even before Duke could find him. Both of them looked dreadful since they both had not had any decent sleep ever since the incident. When Leonhardt put on his serious face, it was apparent that he and Letty were siblings. He normally wore a shabby coat and highly reflective eyeglasses, and had a mouth that spoke quickly about his researches and findings. But when his face was stoic and he had his glasses off, he was obviously a handsome young man. Prince Leonhardt, Her Highness has sent me to fetch you and not to let anyone else inside her room. Is that so? Well, you may take your leave now as her guard. Be careful on your way home. Once he opened his mouth, he was back to how he originally was. He took out his handkerchief and waved it at Duke, dismissing him of his duty. Duke should have taken his leave when Leonhardt dismissed him. He had already completed his tasks of acting as Letty's guard and calling Leonhardt, but his body would not move. Oh, are you not going home? But you have to. The suspicion against you is yet to be cleared, you know. Leonhardt looked at Duke with such piercing eyes, Duke felt like he was penetrating inside him. Then Leonhardt smiled. If you want to stay, you better be Ennui's knight. I do not have any plans on doing so. Please excuse me. Duke made his refusal clear, turned on his heel, and took his leave. Leonhardt's face broke into a grin as he watched Duke walk away. Ahaha. This might not be as hopeless as I thought it would be. Leonhardt had heard stories about Duke Barchet, so he thought that he would be a lost cause, but that did not seem to be the case any longer. Leonhardt entered Letty's room while humming a song. After listening to Leonhardt's report and giving him instructions, Letty went back to sleep once more. When she woke up suddenly, she heard a knock on the door. Who is it? It could be a maid checking on her or some other brother or sister to visit her, or maybe an unwanted visitor. Letty concentrated on her right hand. The person who came in was indeed an unwanted visitor, but also another sibling. Yo. You okay? Of course not, but you seem to be fine. Letty threw a pillow at his face as soon as he entered the room, but they had been together for so long that her older brother Friedhelm did not have any difficulty catching the pillow and throwing it back at her. Where are your manners? It is rude to enter a lady's room without permission. Go out and count until 200, then come in again. Don't worry, I won't feel anything even if I see you in your negligee. Yes ma'am, I will go out and count to 200. Friedhelm did as Letty said to escape a thick tome being thrown at him. He entered the room again after counting to 200, and inside he found Letty perfectly dressed and sitting comfortably on her chair. I wouldn't have minded if you stayed in bed. You haven't recovered yet, right? I will be fine as long as I get some sleep. So? What is your business here? Friedhelm lay on his back with his legs outstretched on Letty's couch like he was the master of the room. To visit the sick. What else would I come here for? Leon has been running around investigating. Of course I'll worry that something might be up. Prince Friedhelm was a handsome person, though in a different way from Letty and Guido. He had flaxen hair and green eyes. He excelled in martial arts and was a generous man. He had charisma that could charm many people, and knights were not the only type of people to swear loyalty to him. To add to that, all of the members of Seventh Heaven were first-rate people. No matter how anyone looks at him, it is evident that he is much more suited to be a king than I do. How irritating. Letty snorted as she poured into the depths of her heart her irrational irritation. Visiting the sick is just for show, right? What is your real purpose? I only have water to offer you. Letty poured water into the goblet and offered it to Friedhelm. He accepted Letty's offer and drank the water as if it was an expensive wine. Well, I heard that you were courting a certain friend of mine. So I wanted to confirm it with you. The rumors are true. I am currently enticing Duke Barchet to take the first seat in my Knights of the Round. And since you are here, I would also like to ask for around 4 knights from your 7th heaven. Tell me when you feel like giving them away. Friedhelm found the situation interesting. He placed the water goblet on the table and stood up, walking towards Letty. How did you know? Know what? You used to say I want to be with Onie-sama. I will study with him. You were very cute then. Bringing up an old story that was a decade old only added to Letty's irritation. She wondered why her still young 23-year-old brother seemed to remember the mundane things and forget the essential ones as he got older. You wanted to study everything, from the ways of the monarch to history and law, and the masters did teach you when they felt like it. I only thought that you were a cute little sister trying to copy her brother, but looking back at it now, it seems like you already knew you'd be queen way back then. Friedhelm cornered Letty in her seat. He placed one of his hands on the chair's handle and the other on the backrest. Letty still had not yet fully recovered and could not move as she pleased, so she took a deep breath and replied like she was scolding a naughty child. Of course I did not. I had not even thought about it in my wildest imagination. It's not only about you studying. You had kept a completely neutral stand on the competition going on about me and Guido, saying that you didn't want to add to the turmoil that might split the kingdom. In the process, you created a third faction, your faction, the neutrals, where the majority of the other royal children belong, even my own full brother and sisters. I couldn't help but think you've already been creating and strengthening your foothold on the throne right from the start. Everything that Friedhelm said was true. Letty had already known since she was a child that she would inherit the throne through the Night King's space. It had taken some time before she fully accepted the fact, but after that, she did everything within her power to make the necessary preparations. It was true that she pretended to be a peace-loving princess that hated conflict and stayed neutral. This brought her other siblings, except for Friedhelm and Guido, to her side. It is all a coincidence. Really? Why do you seem to be so calm about it? I never saw you feel lost or confused about the whole thing, suddenly being proclaimed as the next queen and all. I only seem to be so. One can never know what other people truly feel inside. Letty rebutted in her thoughts, who in the right mind would show their weakness to other people? Then she remembered that one time in the king's gallery where Duke saw through her. Her musings were cut by Friedhelm's voice. Then don't you think it is time for you to show what's inside your heart? I do not understand what you want from me. Tell me the truth. Tell me, who did you think was better suited to be a king? Me or Guido? I know you had your reasons why you had to stay neutral, just like Duke. But not having a preference is all just a front. Tell me who it is. Letty was not able to read Friedhelm's intention, so she gave a safe answer. Leonhardt. He is my full brother and son of the first queen, after all. Friedhelm's face changed from being dead serious to that of a sulking child, a trickster's face that many fall for. Yeah, you're right. It was supposed to be Leonhardt, had he not ended up like that, then? There was a reason why Sommerwessel's line of succession to the throne had become this complicated. The king of Sommerwessel was allowed to take up to 3 queen consorts to prevent not having any heir. Since a child had not been born between the current king and the first queen consort for some time, the king decided to take in his second and third queen consorts at the same time. Shortly afterward, the third queen consort conceived the first child, Friedhelm, then the second queen consort got pregnant with the second child, Guido, and in all irony, the first queen consort gave birth to the third child, Letitia, and fourth child, Leonhardt. Should the proper order in succession be followed, the rightful heir is neither Friedhelm nor Guido but Leonhardt. But with how Leonhardt turned out, they were not convinced about him being the king, so from there it was easy for them to see Letitia as a candidate. That was where things stood now. This crown was just a leftover from the 3 princes, right? Now that I have answered all of your questions and satisfied your curiosity, will you bring with you all of those portraits of husband candidates you had sent to me? I refuse all of them. Letty drove Friedhelm out of her room with this request. But despite her refusals, he just kept sending a new batch every time she returned the previous one. If Duke were to be asked, the persistence of these two was good proof that they were siblings. I already filtered these, so these are all handsome men who probably have good personalities. What's your type, then? The face of Lion King Alexander, the abilities of administrative King Karl-Heinz, and the personality of one-handed King Oswald. If there is a man like that, I will not mind marrying him. What you said means that you won't marry, you know? And who's King Oswald? Friedhelm wondered curiously. It was the first time he heard the name, but he decided to move on. Anyway, I shall take my leave now. Your face doesn't look fine at all. While Friedhelm noticed that Letty had deliberately changed the topic, he decided to be the one to back off. He removed his hand from the chair and sarcastically thanked Letty for the water. I told you, I am fine. How can a face like that be fine? Go and take a look at a mirror. Friedhelm said, pointing to her vanity, and he proceeded to the door. Things get hard once they get complicated, huh? It was not supposed to be like this. But we always end up wringing each other's neck. I know that I should be the one to give way, but this is just frustratingly hard. See you round. As Friedhelm went out of the room, Letty understood the meaning behind his words, and she held her head heavy with exhaustion. Ah, geez. Letty never thought that he came because he was really, truthfully worried about her. She had already given up on their relationship once, given up on the possibility for them to be on good terms with each other again. Friedhelm, Guido, and Letty used to play together when they were young. They always spent their time together with their mothers watching over them from afar. But as they grew up, Friedhelm and Guido's relationship suddenly turned for the worse, with the competition for the crown turning their every meeting into heated collisions. The only thing Letty could do was to mediate between them and to show that she was not taking sides. So she decided to distance herself from them, and by the time they had noticed it, they had grown far away from each other. They simply ended up interrogating the other when they met, always exchanging stride remarks. If that was your intention, I would have properly offered good tea and some biscuits for you. It was just right after the poisoning incident. Friedhelm would not have done anything rash, and Letty could have been more welcoming. Things become hard when they get complicated. I guess you are right. It was a rare event that the two royal siblings shared the same opinion on one thing.